Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Men notice things you think they never even see. You spend so much time wondering if your hair is right, if your outfit flatters you, or if you said the perfect thing on that date. And while sure, men can appreciate those surface-level things, what truly makes a man feel something for you, what actually sticks in his mind long after you're gone, is usually the stuff you don't even know you're doing. It's the way you react in moments when you're unguarded, the way your eyes shift when you're thinking, how you respond when someone frustrates you, or how your energy lights up when you're talking about something you're passionate about. These aren't tricks, these aren't games, they're the unspoken moments that tell a man who you really are. And if you've ever wondered what makes a man remember a woman long after the first date, the conversation, or even the relationship, this is it. So let's start here, because one of the first things men notice, even if they can't explain it, is this: how you treat people you don't need to impress. This is one of the most underestimated indicators of someone's true character, and yet it's something men pick up on instinctively. You might think a guy is only watching how you interact with him, whether you laugh at his jokes, whether you're attentive when he speaks, whether you're warm and flirty, but often, the most telling moments happen when you're not focused on him at all. Let's say you're out on a date. You're charming, polite, witty, but then the waiter comes over. Do you look them in the eye? Do you thank them sincerely? Or do you barely acknowledge them, your attention fixed only on impressing the person across from you? Men notice this, and it's not about you being polite in a textbook way. It's about how genuine your energy is with people who aren't central to the moment. How do you speak to someone who's not offering you anything? Do you show grace, patience, or quiet respect when someone fumbles your order or bumps into you in a crowd? These seemingly tiny interactions actually reveal something profound. Because when a man is evaluating whether or not you're someone he can build something meaningful with, he's not just watching how you treat him in the honeymoon phase. He's watching how you treat the world. How you treat the barista, the receptionist, the person in customer service who messed something up. It tells him what you're like when there's nothing in it for you. And more than that, it shows him how you'll treat him eventually. Right now, in the beginning, he's the one you're dressing up for, being sweet to, making time for. But he knows that will change over time. So he's looking for the clues. When he's no longer the shiny new thing in your life, will you still be kind? Will you still be fair? Men also notice how you speak about people when they're not in the room. That quick comment you make about the girl who walked by, the way you describe a friend who upset you, the tone you use when you're talking about your boss, your family, even strangers. These moments add up in his mind, not because he's judging you harshly, but because it gives him an unfiltered look at how you move through the world. What really strikes a man isn't perfection, it's integrity, and integrity lives in those invisible choices you make when you think no one's watching, the warmth in your tone when someone drops something and you rush to help, the way you thank someone not out of politeness, but because you genuinely appreciate the effort. That's the kind of thing that sticks in his mind, even if he can't always articulate why. He may not say, "I love that you smiled at the doorman," but inside, he's clocking it. He's registering that this is a woman who carries herself with grace, who doesn't have a switch she flips on just to charm people, who can offer her something that tells him you're safe, that you're real, that you're not just performing for approval. You live by your values, and ironically, that's the kind of woman who gets a man's deepest respect, because any guy can enjoy a woman who's sweet to him. But a man looking for a real connection wants to know, can I trust the person behind the smile? Can I count on who she'll be when things aren't polished and perfect? It's not about putting on a show of being overly kind to prove anything. In fact, forced politeness can sometimes backfire. It's about a quiet consistency, how you show up moment to moment when no one is scoring your behavior. He's not looking for a saint. He just wants to feel that who you are when the spotlight's off is someone who radiates the same authenticity as when it's shining on you. Because in the long term, that's what makes a woman feel trustworthy, grounded, and magnetic on a level that goes far beyond looks or charm. The way your face lights up when you talk about what you love, there's a kind of magic that happens in the middle of a conversation. When a woman starts talking about something she's truly passionate about, it's not something you can fake. It's not even something most women realize they're doing, but men notice it immediately. Imagine you're sitting across from him at dinner. You've been chatting politely, maybe laughing a bit. And then something comes up. Maybe you're talking about your dream trip to Italy, or your side project designing jewelry, or the charity work you do on weekends. All of a sudden, something shifts. Your voice gets a little more animated. Your eyes brighten, you sit up straighter. You're not trying to impress anymore. You're just there, immersed in what lights you up. That moment, it's electric, because now he's not just listening to your words. He's feeling your energy. He's watching a woman in her element, alive with purpose, joy, and authenticity. That kind of energy is rare, and when a man sees it, he's pulled in. Not because of what you're talking about, but because of how you're talking about it. You might think men are only drawn to women who talk about topics they're interested in, that you need to tailor your stories to what he finds cool or impressive. But what men actually find most compelling is when a woman doesn't care what he thinks for a moment, when she's just completely lost in something she loves. It could be the way you describe your chaotic but joyful Sunday family dinners. The excitement in your voice when you talk about training for your first 10K. Even the nerdy way you go into detail about a book you just finished or a weird documentary you stayed up all night watching. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is your spark. That spark tells him something fundamental, that you have a life, that you have passions, joy, a world that existed long before he showed up and will exist long after. It tells him you're not just a mirror reflecting what he wants. You're your own person, lit from within by the things that bring you alive, and that's incredibly attractive. Not just in a romantic way, but in a soul level, I want to be around her energy kind of way. In a world full of people trying to be liked, a woman who is animated by her own joy is like a breath of fresh air. She's not waiting for someone to make her interesting. She is interesting. And a man who's looking for more than surface-level beauty will find himself leaning in during those moments, wanting to know more, wanting to understand what moves you, what drives you, what you're made of. And here's what else it does. It gives him permission to light up too, to talk about the things he loves without worrying about sounding too intense or too geeky or too emotional. When you create that space by being open and passionate, you invite him into a deeper kind of connection. One where it's not about impressing each other, but about revealing each other. These are the moments he remembers later, long after the conversations ended. Not because you were trying to be impressive, but because for that brief moment you were simply being yourself, fully and unapologetically. The small, vulnerable ways you check yourself when you think no one's looking. There's a quiet moment that happens just before you walk into a room, or when you pass a reflective surface, or even in between laughter when you glance down to make sure nothing's smudged or out of place. You think no one sees it. You think it's just a little habit, a private ritual, but men notice those moments. It could be the way you subtly adjust your posture before stepping forward, the quick fix of your hair in a window's reflection, the soft tuck of your shirt, or the way your fingers brush your collarbone as you exhale, trying to center yourself before speaking. These aren't grand gestures, they're small, unconscious acts, and they reveal something men find incredibly human and surprisingly magnetic. You see, those little moments of self-awareness show your vulnerability in a raw, unfiltered way. And that's where real connection begins. You're not performing, you're not trying to be perfect. You're simply making these tiny instinctive corrections because you care. about how you're seen, how you're showing up, how you want to be received. That care doesn't scream insecurity, it whispers sincerity. Men aren't drawn to perfection, they're drawn to realness and these small gestures, the ones you think are too subtle to matter, show a level of self-respect and tenderness toward yourself that's deeply attractive. It makes you feel accessible, relatable, because let's be honest, everyone feels a little self-conscious sometimes. Everyone wants to feel confident. When a man sees you tending to that inner need, even quietly, it touches something familiar in him. There's a difference between being performative and being present with yourself. He can tell the difference. He knows when you're obsessively checking yourself to win approval, and when you're just taking a breath to feel more grounded. The latter is what pulls him in. It tells him you're self-aware. You care about how you show up in the world, but you're not dominated by vanity. There's elegance in that balance. These moments are especially powerful because they're unguarded. You're not on in the way people are when they're trying to impress. You're caught in a private moment, and that's when he sees the real you, the version that isn't curated for an audience, and that version is often the most beautiful. Maybe it's the way you bite your lip while thinking, or the way you instinctively smooth your dress when you stand up. Maybe it's how you pause just a fraction of a second to steady yourself before giving your opinion in a group conversation. These tiny acts carry so much more than you think. They show the softness beneath your strength, the part of you that cares, that hopes to be seen, but that's still navigating the moment with grace. And ironically, these are often the moments that stay in his mind afterward. Not the rehearsed line or the perfect outfit. It's the flicker of your hand tucking hair behind your ear, or the way you unconsciously lean forward when you're interested, then catch yourself and pull back. It's real, it's intimate, it's you. The vulnerability in these micro moments builds trust. It tells him you're not pretending to be above it all. You're navigating the same human terrain as everyone else. And in that, there's a quiet strength, a self-possession that's far more compelling than trying to be flawless. He doesn't fall for the polished version. He falls for the one who lets her guard slip for just a second and doesn't even realize it. Your tone and grace when you're frustrated or challenged. It's easy to be lovely when everything's going smoothly. When the waiter gets your order right, when traffic's light, when your plans fall perfectly into place. But men pay close attention to how you handle things when they don't go your way, because that's when your real temperament reveals itself. Maybe you're stuck in a long line. Maybe someone cuts you off in conversation. Maybe your phone dies in the middle of an important call. The way you respond in these moments, the tone in your voice, the look in your eyes, the words you choose, those are the moments that show what kind of emotional world a man would be stepping into with you. Do you become passive, aggressive, dismissive? Do you lash out at the nearest person, even if they had nothing to do with it? Or do you take a breath, stay composed, and navigate it with quiet resilience? This isn't about pretending to be calm all the time. It's about how you carry frustration. Do you let it dominate the room, or do you move through it with a kind of grace that says, yes, I'm irritated, but I'm still in control of myself? Men are watching not to catch you out, but to understand. What will it be like to be around you when life isn't going your way? Because life will go sideways sometimes, and he wants to know, will you turn on him? Will you pull him into your storm, or will you invite him to weather it with you? It's the tone more than the content. You can express disappointment, even anger, without being cutting. You can stand your ground without belittling someone. And when a man sees that you're capable of holding both boundaries and kindness, that's when he feels safest around you. That's when he thinks, this is someone I can build a life with. You might think that snapping in the heat of the moment goes unnoticed, especially if you apologize later. But the truth is, emotional tone leaves a residue. It tells him what kind of atmosphere you create when you're under pressure. And if your tone turns sharp, cold, or defensive as a default, that tells him a lot more than your apology afterward. On the other hand, if you can express your upset clearly, calmly, with a touch of humor or humility, that disarms him. It softens the moment. It diffuses tension instead of feeding it. And it shows incredible emotional intelligence. Sometimes it's not even a full-blown moment of frustration. It could be something subtle. Maybe someone talks over you and you pause instead of snapping. Maybe your drink spills and you laugh instead of huffing. These micro decisions in your response send strong signals about your emotional maturity. Men don't need you to be perfect, but they are subconsciously drawn to women who show they can ride the waves of life without turning every ripple into a tidal wave. Who can feel deeply without losing themselves. Who can be upset without becoming destructive. Because how you handle frustration is ultimately how you handle people. And when he sees that you can stay composed even when triggered, that you choose kindness over control, he doesn't just respect you, he relaxes with you. He feels like you're someone who knows how to lead herself through chaos, and that makes you an anchor, not a storm. How you take care of yourself emotionally and physically, one of the most powerful things a man notices, often without realizing he's noticing, is how a woman takes care of herself, both emotionally and physically. It's not about being flawless. It's not about having a gym, toned body or meditating at sunrise or following some perfect routine. It's about the energy you carry when you are in relationship with yourself, not for anyone else's validation, but because you value yourself deeply. This shows up in small, daily ways. The way you speak about yourself when no one's watching. The way you nourish your body, not from a place of punishment, but from a place of love. The way you protect your peace when the world around you gets chaotic. These are the kinds of things that tell a man you're not waiting for someone else to give you permission to be whole. You've already decided you are. He notices whether you're in tune with your needs. If you're tired, do you give yourself rest or push through until you're drained and resentful? When something hurts, do you acknowledge the pain and tend to it? Or do you ignore it, cover it with a smile, and pretend you're fine? Emotional self-care isn't loud. It's not always journaling or therapy, although it can include those. It's more often the quiet moment when you tell yourself the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, when you admit to yourself this doesn't feel right, and you do something about it. A woman who takes care of herself emotionally sets a tone for the relationship without needing to say a word. She doesn't teach him how to treat her through speeches or ultimatums. She teaches him through how she treats herself. If she doesn't tolerate disrespect from her own inner voice, she's certainly not going to tolerate it from him. If she takes responsibility for her own happiness, she's not looking to make him responsible for it either. That kind of woman is powerful, not in an aggressive way, but in a deeply rooted, centered way. A man can feel it. She's not coming to the relationship in pieces, hoping to be put back together. She's already whole, and the connection becomes a choice, not a necessity. He also notices how you treat your body, not in the superficial sense of whether you have a perfect figure, but in how you carry yourself. There's a big difference between someone who works out to punish herself and someone who moves her body because she loves the feeling of strength and clarity it gives her. A difference between someone who's always talking about what she hates about her body versus someone who's in a respectful relationship with it, flaws and all. A man notices when you take time for yourself, not because you're trying to prove something, but because it's just who you are. He sees it when you protect your boundaries, say no when something doesn't align, and don't overextend yourself to the point of burnout just to please people. That signals confidence, but more than that, it signals self-trust. And when a man sees a woman who trusts herself, it helps him trust her too. There's something deeply magnetic about a woman who tends to her emotional world like it matters, who doesn't need chaos to feel alive, who doesn't stay in drama to feel needed, who can self-soothe, self-regulate, and self-validate without spiraling. That kind of presence is rare, because it means you don't need someone to come rescue you from your own emotions. You know how to sit with your sadness, your fear, your stress, and move through it with kindness toward yourself. This doesn't mean you never fall apart. It doesn't mean you're always calm or balanced or have it all figured out. But when you do fall apart, you fall apart with grace. You allow yourself to be held, but you don't place the full weight of your healing on someone else's shoulders. That makes a man feel like he's walking into a partnership, not a repair project. And that changes everything. He sees the way you advocate for your needs, whether it's taking space when you need clarity, choosing silence over saying something you'll regret, or speaking up when something crosses a line. Those moments, those small, speak volumes. They tell him you know your worth, you know how to care for your own heart, and if he's going to be part of your life, he's going to have to meet you in that care, not replace it. You create an emotional environment around you. If you take care of your energy, people feel better just being near you. That doesn't mean being fake or relentlessly positive. It means you're not leaking emotional chaos everywhere you go. You've learned how to contain and work with what you feel. That creates safety, and safety is one of the most underrated components of attraction. Men may be drawn to beauty, but they stay for peace, for the sense that being with you feels like calm, like alignment, like exhale. And peace doesn't come from pretending you don't have feelings. It comes from knowing how to hold your feelings with gentleness and accountability. It comes from the work you do on yourself when no one's watching. That's what builds emotional maturity. That's what builds trust. He notices whether you take responsibility for your moods or outsource them. Whether you blame the world when you're unhappy, or whether you get curious and ask yourself what you need. That kind of self-awareness doesn't scream. It's quiet, it's lived, and it becomes the foundation of how you show up in love. Even in the way you dress, walk, or sit across from him, he picks up on your relationship with yourself. If you wear clothes that make you feel powerful, not just because they're trendy, but because they express you. If you take care of your space, your sleep, your inner world, these things create a frequency around you. They speak for you before you say a word. Self-care isn't a checklist, it's a lifestyle, and when it's authentic, when it's not performative or pressured, it creates a gravitational pull. Because it signals that you're not looking for someone to fill a void, you're looking for someone to build with, to share a life with, to grow beside, and that is what separates short-term chemistry from long-term connection. When you light up talking about something you love, there's a distinct shift that happens in you when you talk about something that sets your soul on fire. Your eyes brighten, your voice changes rhythm, your hands become animated, and suddenly you're not performing, you're fully alive. Men notice that moment because it shows them what passion looks like in you. It's not about what you're talking about, it's how you come alive when you talk about it. It could be your job, a side project, a childhood memory, or even a dream you haven't yet pursued. That light, that joy, that burst of energy, it's magnetic. It tells him you have depth, drive, and that your happiness isn't tied to anyone else. You create joy from within, and that's incredibly attractive. It makes him want to be a part of your world, not because you need him, but because your world already feels rich, and he wants to be invited in how you treat people who can't do anything for you, the way you speak to a waiter, treat the person cleaning up, or respond to someone who's clearly struggling. These small moments of interaction reveal volumes about your character. A man pays close attention to how you treat those without power, because it shows how you'll treat him when you're not trying to impress. Genuine kindness, humility, and respect for people regardless of status. Those qualities don't just make you a good person, they make you deeply trustworthy. It tells him your warmth isn't selective, your compassion isn't performative, and your values run deeper than convenience. When he sees you show grace in those moments, it builds admiration and makes him feel proud to stand next to you. It signals that love with you would be rooted in something real, not just surface-level charm when it comes to attraction. It's not just the big, obvious things that capture a man's attention. It's the micro, moments, the unconscious expressions, the energy you carry when you're not trying. From the subtle ways you self-correct to how you handle stress, how you treat your body, your passion, your presence, your empathy. These are the things that create a lasting emotional imprint. You don't have to perform or overanalyze. You just have to become deeply attuned to how you show up, not just for others, but for yourself. That's what becomes irresistible, because the woman who owns herself fully, emotionally, physically, energetically, is the woman who doesn't need to chase attention. She commands it effortlessly, and when a man experiences that kind of self-assured presence, something changes. You stop being a moment, and you start becoming a memory he wants to return to again and again. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about noticing what he's already noticing in you. And from that place, building deeper connection, real attraction, and lasting love. For more tools to elevate your relationships, your confidence, and your love life, make sure you're subscribed here at Matthew Hussey Track, because this is where we decode the truth that actually works, not the fluff. If this opened your eyes even just a little, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't forget to hit subscribe here on Matthew Hussey Track, where we turn insight into confidence and confidence into connection. See you in the next one.